Okay guys, I'm back and we're outside. We're obviously losing daylight, so I'm going to make this a two-part video. So here you can see this is the Burris XTR3, so you can see it a little closer out in the light. That's what it looks like. It's got great turrets. The turrets, you know, you can zero lock it and all that kind of stuff. They're not crazy audible. Actually, they are fairly audible. I'm sorry. They're to me, versus like even the Arc and Optic is like very, very audible. This is not as audible, and the DMR3 is even quieter than this. So they are fairly audible, and they're definitely very definitive and tactile clicks. They're very, very solid clicks. You definitely know when you've turned it. When you don't have any slop in there. There's no. It's solid, like it's really solid. Unless you click it, it doesn't have any wiggle room. So they're very solid turrets. The picture through this is phenomenal. This scope is better than, in my opinion, with my eye, looking through this scope, I can see clearer than some scopes that are a lot more expensive. So that's why I'm so thoroughly impressed with this scope. I honestly wish that I had bought a Burris XTR3 that had a small, like a lower zoom range for a secondary scope, because this scope, I'm not sure why I'm so partial to it. Also, the crosshairs in it, the reticle in it is much more fine, and it's a high precision scope. It really is. It's meant to be. So I have the video going through it already, as I'm sure you'll see when I make this. But that is the same. So I haven't turned the zoom up at all. It's all the way down, and that's the same. I moved back a little bit. I'll range it, but I also want you guys to see the app when I use both of these two things together. I'm going to use the Kilo 6 binoculars and the Kestrel ballistic, and I'm going to show you the ballistic app that Sig Sauer has, because somebody after my last video talking about the Element scopes and my bad experience with them, which also, by the way, I bought that Element at Northeast Airguns, and the one, I won't mention any names because it's not personal, but somebody who works there is literally giving me such a ridiculous, petty, hard time with the return, even though he took it back in person at the competition. I brought it to him. Now he's saying because there's no bag, no plastic bag on the sunshade, that he can't accept it as a return. Like, it's just such preposterous bullshit. I literally mailed him an Element Optics sticker and Allen wrenches because he was worried about those, which, yeah, I'm sure you guys have about 10 million laying around your shop, and so do I. So I'll mail you about 20 Allen wrenches so I make sure you have the right size, which is exactly what I did to be an asshole, because he's being an asshole. So you're gonna get what you give. I'm usually not an asshole to anyone. I hate doing business that way, but he's been such an asshole to me about this, and I don't know if it's because he's in trouble with his boss, or he's gonna be when they find out that he sold me the wrong scope in the first place, and that's why I was returning it originally, not because of the clarity. I didn't realize the clarity was gonna be so shitty when I first called him. So I tried it at 100 yards, and it came in like crap. But I didn't know that at the time. He was supposed to sell me an MOA scope, which this is an I use MOA scopes. Almost all of my scopes are MOA, only a couple of mil, because that's the only way they came. So he sold me a mil radian scope, even though I was under the impression I was buying an MOA scope, and isn't even owning his own mistake to make that right by, he was going to switch it out, and I was okay with that. I wasn't okay with that once I saw the clarity, but it took so damn long that, we're talking about like a month and a half, 2 months before the competition, and that's when I gave it to him because it had been so long. I went out and bought a razor. I said, keep it. So now he wants to give me a hard time refunding me because of the plastic bag on the sunshade. I mean, how petty can you actually be? It's just so ridiculous. Anyways, Northeast Air Guns, I would not plan on anything being returned if you buy it there. If you have any doubt on what you're buying, don't buy it there. They're awesome. They're awesome. The owners are awesome. It had nothing to do with them. The owners are really nice guys. They help the competition, and they're awesome guys. But unfortunately, they have some people working there that would literally be that petty. So, anyways, enough about that. And they're not taking up that much space in my head, so I'm not taking up that much time in my video. So this is already recording, so I'm gonna do the range, and that's where we're looking right now. We're looking at the top of that tree that's about the farthest I can see from here because I'm in the city. Let me turn the app on. The Kestrel's already on. And the Kestrel, you want to kind of just like stand it somewhere so that it can get the wind reading. Okay. So it is actually spinning. I didn't realize there's that much wind. Well, yeah, no, I feel it now that I'm paying attention. Alright, so Sig DDX app. And I'm going to have to make this a two-part video because we're losing daylight here. Rangefinder. Okay, so the app looks like this when you're doing this. So I'm going to take the range and I'll hold the phone here so you guys can see what happens. But this is connected to the Kestrel, connected to the phone, and it's all going to synchronize. Okay, 126.1. Oh shit. 126.1 gave us this result. Where are we? 0.07 and a 10.99 mil. This is in, why is this in mil? MOA. There we go. So you can change it that easy. So let me redo this. Okay, 120. It went back to mils. I don't know why. I think it must be set on that profile under mils for some reason. I'll have to change that. But anyways, so this is, you get all your results. You have 128 yards. So your windage is a 0.08 mil hold to the left, and you're going to hold elevation 11.3 high. So 11.3, this is a quarter MOA per turn. So obviously it's not an MOA, so I'd have to get a calculator to transfer it, but it's probably, I don't even know exactly how many times. Anyways, say this was a mil scope, and 10 rotations, 10 clicks was a mil. So you'd want to do 100 clicks, 113 clicks, so to be 11.2 mils. So if it's 10 clicks, usually on mil scopes you have a lot more than 10 for a full rotation. So in one full rotation, you should know how many mils you get out of a full rotation. Like maybe you get 3 or 4 mils out of one rotation. But anyways, the scope is fantastic, and for the guys out there that want to worry about Element Optics coming out with their ballistic app, there's better ballistics apps already out that go with the hardware, and it's the most common hardware. Like Sig Sauer is renowned. This range-finding binoculars does up to 6,000 yards accurately, and it can do non-reflective up to that far. It can do like something you can actually, like a tree or something like that. You can go, I think it's 4,000. But it'll accurately range anything that has like a somewhat reflective surface, like a vehicle or something, up to 6,000 yards, and accurate to within 1 yard. So that's how well these work. I mean, they're not renowned for no reason. Sig Sauer hasn't built their empire for no reason. And that's where we had the competition, at Sig Sauer Academy. So obviously they're doing something right. And these are the fastest. The result, when you hit the button and you see the range in the binoculars, you see that range within a split second. It's less than 1 second before you see the actual result. So there's no other rangefinder that's that fast other than Sig Sauer. I don't think there is one out there. Every bit of research I did before I bought these said that these were the fastest return, because every time you're doing a range, you're sending a laser to what you're aiming at, and then it has to bounce back and get the signal. So these are the fastest to do that. And they're obviously the rest of their line. They have one that's a step up from this. This is only the second one down. It's a Kilo 10. Instead of Sig Kilo 6, it's a Sig Kilo 10. That can do up to 10,000 yards. So I mean, we're talking miles. It's 10,000 yards is, I mean, a mile is a little more than 5,000 feet. So that's not even 2,000 yards. So this can see this can range 3 miles, 3.5 miles. It's pretty crazy. 3 miles. Anyways, it doesn't matter, because once you get into that range, you're not going to make a shot more than 1 mile, even with a Barrett. So, I mean, a mile is a crazy long shot. So the stuff that we think about for airgun aiming, like elevation and windage, is minor when you get into shots that long. You're worried about the rotation of the earth. Like there's so many. It's so in depth to shoot that far. But anyways, nobody's shooting that far with an airgun. So this equipment is overkill for what I have as it is. What I have for airguns anyway. I actually don't have any long range guns that will shoot that far. I don't own a Barrett. That's the only gun that'll do it that I know of. But anyways, you see the app and how it links with the Kestrel and the binoculars. So don't worry about Element Optics app coming out, because guess what? There's already better apps that are currently out and hardware that goes with it. And this is the view through the scope. And I'll probably take the sound out of the video that has this in there so you can see it. And I'll look at something a little closer and adjust the parallax. So a little closer over here, there we go. See, you adjust the parallax and immediately it's clear. This glass is just so impressive. See, there's trees around and there's not really much I can look at that's really far, but see, this is, let's see how far that is. Alright, that's 20 yards away. So and I have it all the way down to 20. So that's the clarity you get at 20 yards. I mean, I can make out the details on every leaf on the tree. I can even see the veins in the leaves. It's crazy. So, yes, very good scope. This suppressor actually used to be the Trident, and I had it in one of the videos because the Trident and the Impulse are the only two decent airgun moderators that I've been able to find yet. But I actually made this my own because I tried to put, when I lost the adapter, I tried to put a bushing in it that would go from M18 or whatever size it was down to half-inch UNF to go on the gun that I was trying to use it on. And what I ended up doing was putting it in crooked, and I destroyed the internal plastic, because they make it plastic so you can't use it on a gun, which is smart, but it sucks when you break it for by accident, not using it on a firearm. So I actually met the machinist from Donnie FL, who's an awesome guy, and did me a solid and actually made this part without even seeing the suppressor. I did have the schematics. I contacted the manufacturer, and they don't sell direct. They don't sell anything themselves. They just, distribute through mostly Airguns of Arizona. But they were kind enough to give me the schematic, and I could have made it myself now, but I didn't have a lathe at the time. I just got that lathe pretty recently. So, but I had the guy from Donnie FL, his machinist, make this for me, and he's badass, dude. To be able to make that part that close to what everything, the threads were dead on. The outside threads to go into this, the inside threads. The only thing that was slightly off was this was a little wider than the diameter of this. I shaved it down on my lathe because I got the lathe by the time I got the part. Other than that, everything was perfect. It was all to spec on that sheet. It was 45 at the end. He asked me some of the stuff, and he did it exactly what I said. And I probably told him a wider measurement than it actually was because I didn't have it in front of me when he asked. But I ended up taking the inside of this, and on the front piece, when you unscrew this, which I'm not going to unscrew it because it got a little messed up, and now it's Loctited in there, but the back does come undone. But I used a washer that I used a 1/2 inch hollow steel tube. I put a washer on the front, and it fits exactly in that seat where the front of that plastic piece went. So there's no room for it to move around at all. So it has to stay centered. And then that washer is not acting as a baffle, it's just acting as a guide. Then the 1/2 inch piece, I took that 1/2 inch piece of hollow tubing and I milled lines out of it. So the lines are smaller they're less than half of a 22 caliber. So they're narrow, but they're on 3 different spots around it. So in the same location, which is between washers, that's where I welded the washers afterwards. But in 3 locations around the diameter of the tube, there's an elongated hole that, like it's just drilled in and milled down a little bit in each location. I did it all the way down on one spot, then I turned it a little bit, did it all the way down on the next spot, then I turned it a little bit, went all the way down on the next spot. Then I drilled the holes exactly the diameter of this, 1/2 inch. I drilled 1/2 inch holes in the middle of washers that had smaller holes, but they were big enough to fill the hole inside of this to hit the outside wall. So I put that dead center on the lathe, and I put the milling bit that I used to drill the holes in the washers was a 1/2 inch bit. Made exactly 1/2 inch holes. They fit snug, like they were. I had to hammer them on, but they hammered on fairly easy. But I could wiggle them once I got them on, and then when I got them in place, I tack welded them. And no thorough weld all the way around. It doesn't need it. Just a little tack weld. And I did that with 6 different baffles, and so there's 6 different washers as baffles, and then the end piece that didn't get broken on the plastic, I used that in the beginning because that actually fit right to this, and I made that tube, I actually heated up the plastic that was left, and I made that tube sit perfectly straight in that plastic, and I let the plastic dry on it. So now it's like all one piece. So it would come out. It might be difficult to get out because it's in there pretty tight, and also I painted it, so I'd have to cut this to get the paint off. But this silencer I measured with a decibel meter versus the Impulse, which was the next quietest, but it was still almost 10 decibels higher, the Impulse. Then the Donnie FL that I've heavily modified. I've used my own insulation, my own wire screening, my own felt. Everything. Those are the Donnie FL FX ones that I got with the guns. That's the only reason I have them, because I got rid of that Emperor and I haven't bought another one since. But excuse me. That was 12 decibels louder than this. So I'm surprised, and I didn't put any insulation or anything in there. Just the baffles. That first piece of plastic that was on the bottom of the Trident, I don't, if you know what the inside of it looks like, there's a small piece on the bottom that's the diameter of the whole bottom piece, of the whole internal, or just about, and then it has openings around it, and then it has a small gap before it has like a guide hole, and then that guide hole goes on to go through the other part, which has openings that kind of twist around. It's a really well thought out and well designed moderator, but I made it quieter like this. It is heavier, so I don't use this on like the Impact with the light barrel, but this is the Pantera. It's got the plenum in the barrel, and this is the 700, so the plenum's like all the way to right It's like more than halfway in between this. It's right about there. So right from there to there is all high compressed air, 250 to 300 bar air. So it's not going to make this barrel move. It didn't make it budge at all. But I'll show you how quiet it is. So I don't know how loud that sounds in the video because I can't hear it yet, but compared to, even if I shoot my impact out here right next to it with a 22 caliber and the impulse on it, it's a very noticeable difference to the ears. And the decibel meter noticed it as well, but it's very noticeable to the ears. So anyways, maybe I'll make moderators one day. Not today, but maybe one day, who knows. Anyways, guys, I'm signing off here. This is what I'm focusing on next. Well, you can't see it, but I'm focusing on my car next. I've already been focusing on my car. I did the clutch. I'm gonna put the video out of the double disc metallic clutch being put in. I'm doing the rear drivetrain. I'm doing the axles. I'm probably gonna have to do the differential and drive shaft sooner than later, but I already got the axles. And everything is rated for like 1400 horsepower or more because I'm going to do the stroked motor before the end of the season. So you can look forward to all those videos coming up. I made one for the clutch. I'll make one for the rear end. The one for the clutch is not all on this camera because I was in the process of getting it for doing these videos for you guys when I did that job. And that job actually was a tough one. That clutch I had to take the whole exhaust system off, the transmission off, the starter has to come off. You have to take the windshield wipers and that plastic trim off to get to the top two bolts. It was tough. It was a tough job, but got it done. Anyways, I'm going to let you guys enjoy the next video, and I'm going to go get back to doing what I do and figuring some more stuff out. So I'll make another part of this video with the less expensive scopes at a later date because it's getting late out right now and it's getting dark. So it's no point of showing you through the scopes inside because I could turn a lot more lights on and make it more well lit, but it's just, you're not going to get the same experience that way. So I will make a part 2 tomorrow or the next day or whenever, but I'll put this one up for now. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and I hope you got something useful out of this, and I hope that most importantly it keeps you guys from spending a lot of money on these scopes that are all hyped up just because of people supporting a different company than the scope company that they're supporting. Because that kind of pisses me off, that everybody jumps on board with Element Optics, and with air guns, that's all you ever hear about is Element Optics. When really Element Optics was just given birth to. It's a brand new company, and FX supported it. And that's why these people are supporting it, because there's FX money in it. That's not a reason to support a company. You support a company because it's a good company and they make good products. So that's why YouTube's needs more people like me that aren't being compensated by these companies. So I'm giving you the real deal, because I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about what I say. As far as, I'm not sponsored by FX or by Element Optics or by anyone else. I did tell Doug from Stud Mag Loaders that I'm going to wear his jersey, because I am. But, I'm not accepting any compensation from him. I told him, yeah, I'll wear your jersey and shoot for you. But I just paid for 3 more magazines from him. I don't even take the magazines for free. He does send me a prototype here and there, but I also send him a bunch of slugs that I make for him to do testing with our magazines. So we exchanged some stuff, but I haven't taken one bit of compensation that wasn't, like I didn't reciprocate for. So my point is that I'm completely impartial and have no sponsorship and no anything, which I've told you guys 100 times before, but sometimes people don't believe you when you say that, but for me it really is true. Alright guys, I'm signing off. I'm going to put this stuff away and put the video together, and then I'll put it up, and I will make you another one with the other scopes in the coming days. Alright, thank you guys. Excuse my cold. Have a great night.